Now, I've just got a son that have just come out of university. He's a clever bugger. He got a degree in biology and engineering. So anybody here tonight that want your cat welded, he is a twat, he is too. You know, I went and seen the farmer. I said, how is it going? He said, JeThRo, he said, we was here last week. He said, and a man come here to sell a washing machine. And he said, my wife sent him down. I said, I don't want a washing machine. I said, well, hang on a minute. Let me tell you a story. He said, I went last week to milk that cow. He said, I got underneath, and she kicked me right off the bloody stool, upset the milk a bloody lot. So he said, I put a rope around her leg and tied her leg right up to that beam up there. And he said, I'm buggered if I didn't get underneath and she kicked me with the other bloody leg. It's a bastard. He said, I put a piece of rope around that and tied that bugger right up there. I thought, she won't bloody kick me now. He said, I got underneath again and she flicked a shitty tail right in my bloody eyes. Well, he said, I got her with a piece of string and tied her tail up tight to her horns. I said, now I got you, you bastard. Well, he said, I just had a piddle in the drain and I was doing up my fly front when my wife came in. And he said, if you can convince her I wasn't going to shag that cow, I'll have a bloody fight. But I see dental. I said, how's it going, dental? Oh, he said, I make a lot of money now in Plymouth. I said, what are you doing? Well, he said, I bought a 3-story house. He said, I'm doing very well. He said, I got prostitutes on the bottom floor, puffs on the second floor, and paedophiles on the top floor. Shit. He said, making a lot. He said, it wasn't easy at first, just me and the wife and kids. Last week, we went for a job. It's a job advertised, see, because I've had a lot of jobs. When I left school first, I went as an undertaker's assistant. I was only 14. And I had to go in and lay this woman out. Oh, Christ. But I come up and I said to the boss, this woman down there, she got a prawn in her fanny. He said, that's not a prawn, it's a clitoris. I said, well, it tastes like a prawn. That's the one I'm going to do on Desert Corner next time. Then I was a milkman. When I was a milkman, I was doing the round one morning with the light on. I thought I'd collect my money, and the man came out. He said, oh, JeThRo, he said this. He said, I'd come for my money. I said, I'm sorry to bother you early. He said, don't worry. He said, we're having an all-night party, he said. He said, we're playing the game now. He said, all the men go in one room and take their trousers off, pull their shirt up over their head, and the women got to go in and guess who they are. And he said, your name been mentioned 4 times up to now. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked tonight if I sing a beautiful song for you. And as you know, I come from a long line of singers. In fact, I was orchestrated as a very young child. And I had a rough start, because when I left being a milkman, we went for a job on the farm, me and Slip-Along Travascus. And the farmer said, now this is the milking machine. And he said, the milk go in the teats, up around the, across the rafters and in the tank. He said, on this, his wife came in. She said, you want it on the phone. I thought, Christ, that bloody milking machine, with all that suction and vibrating, I thought, I'm going to try that bugger. With the, I got me cock in the milking machine, and Slip-Along started it up. I said, Christ, this isn't bad, Slip-Along. When I finish, I shan't have to cuddle it either. I said, that'll about do, turning off. He said, this isn't the turning off switch. I said, where's that? He said, can't find it. 3 3/4 hours I was there. He said, I'll go and get the farmer. He come back, he said, the farmer said, don't worry, you switch yourself off when the tank's full. Now, is there any policeman in? Bloody police. He sounds Scottish, didn't it? Say something else. Ooh. A Scottish policeman. When I want to hear from an asshole, I'll fart. Hell. And don't pick on me, mate. I'm a professional like your mother was. You know, it's funny. I must do. You always get one, a Scot. Shit. I was coming down from a week or two ago, and I got out the car for a piddle, and it's in the dark, and I was having the piddle, and everything started rattling. I thought I'd pissed on a sheet of galvanized. And I flashed my leather, and I pissed all over a Cornish pixie, all in his bells, in his hat. He said, "You beastly bastard." He talked like that. He come from Penryn. I said, "I never meant to piss on you, mate. I didn't know you was there." He said, "Yes, you did." And he said, "I'm going to put a spell on you. Next time you're working in this area," he said, "I'm going to send on the village idiot to keep shouting out while you're trying to tell jokes." Police, a bloody police. They stopped me coming up the road in Columpton, and out got the driver. He looked about 8. And they got them faces, them. And he come towards me like that. I thought, what a wanker. Then I thought, what a pity his father wasn't. He was fearless, too. He said, "I want your name." I said, "What am I going to use?" He said, "Where was you between 7 and 11? I said, "I was at primary school." But this morning, I've had a bit of luck today because I got a bloody dog, and I never did like the bloody thing. In fact, when the mother-in-law come round, she come round to see us every Saturday. For 17 years, she come around to see us every Saturday, but this week, as a special treat, we're going to let her in. Where we'll cut the tail off the dog so there'll be no apparent signs of welcome, you know. But this bloody dog, I've been trying to get rid of this dog, and lucky this morning, I caught the vicar having a wank. I said, "I got a lovely picture here, vicar, with your cock out." He said, "You got to give me that picture." I said, "No, no. Oh, no." I said, "I took a picture. It's my picture." He said, "What am I going to do?" I said, "You give me £50 for the dog, and I'll give you the picture." When he bought the dog, I had 50 quid, and he got home and said to his wife, he said, "I got a new dog." Oh, she said, "That's nice." She said, "How much you give for that?" He said, 50 quid. You 50 quid? Somebody must have seen you coming.